because our trigonometric functions are all based on rotating around a unit circle, and a positive rotation is a counterclockwise and negative is a clockwise, we are going to have some really nice properties for when we plug negative numbers in versus plugging positive numbers in, because that rotation, all it's going to do is change how our coordinates are, the signs on our coordinates, whether they're positive or negative. And so we've got some really nice properties. I'm just going to write them down and talk about each as I go. First of all, sine of a negative number. If you travel, this negative tells me that I'm moving in the clockwise direction. Sine is the y coordinate, and if I travel clockwise rather than counterclockwise, my coordinates end up being negative. And so this is going to be equal to the negative sine of t. Okay, where sine of t is saying if I travel in the counterclockwise direction, then I get a positive y value up above, but then I would need to make that negative to get the value down below. We can also look at, let me actually move this over, cosine. Cosine of a negative angle. If I travel clockwise, I start out with my positive x values. That actually doesn't change whether I am traveling counterclockwise or clockwise. I start off with positive x values. And then they switch to negative once I pass the pi over 2 or negative pi over 2. But what this tells me is it doesn't matter which way I travel, I actually will get the same x coordinate, which is the cosine of the angle. So cosine of negative t is equal to cosine of t. Now tangent is, we can actually just think of tangent as that's y over x, which I can also think of as sine over cosine. And using my basic, I could say, well, then I would divide, right? Tangent of negative t would be sine of negative t over cosine of negative t. If I were to divide these two things, I would get negative tangent of t. Okay. The reciprocals of each of these functions will have the same properties. So cosecant of negative t is equal to negative cosecant of t. And secant of negative t is equal to the secant of t. And cotangent of negative t is equal to the negative cotangent of t. These are the properties of the trigonometric functions. They're called even or odd because back in our algebra days we learned about an even function. An even function is where if you plug a negative value in, it's the same as just plugging the positive. This is even. Any function that has this property is even. And an odd function is if you plug a negative value in, it's the same as if I put a negative in front of the entire function. That's an odd. And so we can actually see here that the sine and the cosecant are odd functions. The tangent and the cotangent are odd functions. And the cosine and the secant are even functions.